All right, so welcome everybody. This is the first Delaware Bicycle Council meeting of 2022. I think John sent out the schedule for the rest of the meetings. Hopefully we can have a quorum for everyone, so plan for that if you can. I guess we'll start with John. Do we have any public members that?
Well, if you want, let me do a quick roll call
Okay.
for the council members, and then I'll go over to the attendees to see if any of them want to make any public comment. So real quick, I'll do the council members first. Just indicate if you're here. Walt Bryan.
Here.
Fran Kardaki. Okay. Matt Cochran. Let's see. Sheber Hall.
Here.
All right. Tom Hartley.
I'm here.
Okay. Scott Hoffman.
Here.
Mike Crumrine.
Here.
Marty Lesnar. Jackie McDermott.
Here, thank you.
Okay. Yvette Morrow. No, she said she was to be absent. Wendy Pelasco. Mike Tyler.
Here.
Michael Wagner. Okay. James Wilson.
Here.
And Tyler Wright.
I'm here.
Thank you. And for attendees, John Bear.
You're muted, John.
Nope, John Bear is muted. Okay.
Nothing right now.
Okay. And for attendees, I have Bill Weller. If Bill's able to speak, do you have anything for public comment? Chris Acey.
Yep, John,
Oh,
Bill Weller. I don't have anything to
Okay.
comment on tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Acey,
I'm here.
did you have anything for public comment?
No.
Okay, thank you. Former director Mark Cote.
Hello, everyone. Just happy Groundhog Day.
And Mike Hahn. Oops. Let's see.
Nope. Hello, everyone. Nope.
Nope.
I don't have
Okay.
anything.
Okay. And then I forgot, sorry, Paul, but I forgot you. So.
Hello. I'm here.
All right.
We got the boss on there too.
Yeah,
Yes.
you forgot your boss.
I know,
Yeah.
saving the last for best. So Pam Steinbach.
Everyone. Thanks for remembering me.
All right, Scott, we do have quorum, so I'll have you take over from here.
Okay, so the first item on the agenda is the minutes review from the last meeting in December. So usually at this time, we ask if anyone has any comments to the minutes or questions.
Yeah, the only thing for me, Scott, is I haven't gotten anything for the meeting minutes for safety initiatives for breakout room 1. So I did get some information for breakout room 2, which you see here, but I don't have anything of what was discussed for breakout room 1. So if anybody who was in breakout room 1 can send me a quick narrative of what was talked about, yeah, I can add those to the meeting minutes, because at the last meeting, the breakout rooms were not able to be recorded.
Oh, okay. James was the facilitator for that breakout room.
I can't even remember who was in it with me.
Well,
I think what you guys talked about was the safety initiative related to a video. James,
I think I might have some notes on that.
okay,
okay, and I have here from, based on, it was James Wilson, Walt Bryan, Fran, Shebra, and Tom Hartley were the members of Breakout Room 1.
I know we
if-
did. I know we did not come to a firm conclusion.
Okay. I guess it's just looking just for a brief narrative for the meeting minutes. So right now they're incomplete. I think I'm allowed that if you send me the meeting minutes, I can revise them and then send them out to the council via email for approval via a doodle poll. I think we can do that. So they can't be approved tonight, then that they don't have to wait till the next meeting. I can just send them out to the council members after I update them and just get approval that way, if that's okay with you, Scott. Or
it's
if
okay
there's
with me.
another,
Does
if,
anybody
or
have
if,
any objections?
or if there's another way you want to do it, I'm not too sure on the,
Well, the
process or
other way that
procedures.
we could do it is they could be approved pending James providing something that's going to be inserted for Breakout Room 1, as long as nobody else has any other changes to the minutes that they want to make.
I think that's easier.
I don't know about that.
Okay,
To vote,
I'll leave it to you,
vote
Martin.
for
You're the
minutes.
attorney.
You need to vote for not. I would think that we could, though, if there's an update that's done during this meeting and it's emailed to everybody. I mean, I'm looking at whatever the minutes were that were circulated prior. And so if revised minutes are plugged in that fills in Breakout 1 and everybody can look at it on email, we could certainly then, I think we could vote on it and approve it.
You talking about during this meeting or even afterwards?
During this meeting.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm not sure whether we can vote by email on anything. I think we have to be at a meeting. But if people, if the minutes were circulated and everybody looked at it, then we could vote during this meeting. Otherwise, I think we just have to wait till next meeting.
All right, so John, can you just revise them and resend them out? We'll do it at the next meeting then.
I can do that.
That'll be simpler.
Yep, that's the easiest way. Yep, okay.
All right, so minutes approval is tabled.
Okay.
I have a comment about the minutes.
Okay, well,
Sometime during this meeting, if somebody could address the trail status between Cool Spring Road and Fisher Road as it's referred to in the minutes under old business.
let's see. Okay, so in the meetings, it's Chris asked if the Georgetown Lewis Trail, Cool Spring to Fisher has started construction. John responded no. That the project went out for bid. Bid openings will occur on December 14th or 15th. Okay, we could handle that later on in the agenda under DelDOT project updates.
Great.
So we can do that there.
Right on.
John, this is Mike Tyler. I say it's actually Cool Spring Road. There's no S on spring.
Nope. Yep. Okay. Typo. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments about the minutes that we have here tonight? All right, so John's going to follow up with revised after we get some information from James, and then we can make that a next month's meeting will be a double minutes review or approval. So the next item is giving anybody from the public an opportunity to address the council.
Yep. And
Did we have any of those?
no, we did not have anybody from the public for public comment.
Okay. All right, so then we're on to new business.
Excuse me, this is Bill Weller.
Oh, okay.
Bill?
I just wanted to follow up Mike Tyler's comment
Okay.
on the name of the road, Cool Springs. DelDOT has both spellings on signs.
Hmm.
So I'm curious to know what's the source of the correct spelling.
Okay.
Well,
Bill, we could-
being a native, it's Cool Spring Road and it's one word, not spaced like there.
I agree. I've been here for over 30 years too, and it's always been in Cool Spring.
Well, DelDOT has road signs out that don't agree.
I know
That's
that we
right.
had a little laugh about that.
Yeah, that's right. But you got to remember who names these damn things within DelDOT. Their move here is too, you know.
So Bill, if you want separately, we can talk and I can pass that on to our traffic section. And
Okay.
if you can give me either pictures or just points, intersections, where it's incorrect, I can at least forward it to our traffic section. And-
Okay, well, give me a little time and let me take the action and I'll follow up with you, John, offline once I can get some pictures of the different labels,
Okay.
signs.
I will be glad to send you all some history on it, being a Cool Spring native, Cool Spring Church and so forth. So I'll send you the proof.
I'd really appreciate that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Any other items there, guys? You see any raised hands there, John?
I do not.
See any. Okay. All right, so on to new business. And the first item is nominate and vote for 2022 chair and vice chair. Which, John, we had that down as Fran.
Yeah,
Maybe
Fran,
discussion.
would Marty, would you be able to do that in place of Fran? Just oversee the voting for chair and vice chair?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll give some clarification, Marty. At the last meeting in December of 2021, Scott Hoffman was nominated for chair and Walt Bryan was nominated for vice chair. And I had not received any additional nominees via email at this time. So at this meeting, if there, I guess you can say, are there any other nominees, for chair or vice chair?
Okay. I'm just paging through here to make sure Walt is on this one. Scott,
Here.
you're here. Okay, good. We won't have a Calvin Coolidge situation here where we nominate people who say they don't want to serve.
I agreed.
Okay. All right. And Scott, I assume you've agreed to continue serving?
I have agreed.
Okay. So we will, since this is a vote by the council itself, I will open the floor. If there are any, having Scott nominated for chair and Walt nominated for vice chair, are there any other nominations by members of the Bike Council? Hearing none. The nominations of Scott Hoffman and Walt Bryant for chair and for vice chair are put before the council, and we'll have a vote. All in favor, I'm going to say, if everybody can turn their camera on, all in favor and raise their hand.
Can I just say aye? I can't get my camera to work.
Aye.
I hope.
Aye.
Who said that?
Aye.
The problem with a voice vote is you can't tell who voted or if everybody voted. So if we're doing this according to Hoyle, it should be got everybody voting. All right.
Okay,
Is there
so
anybody opposed? Okay, the vote passes. The nominations are approved. Congratulations for a year of service, or another year of service, as the case may be.
Thanks, Marty.
Sure. That's hard work.
Gotta start working on some nominations for next year.
That is the job of the chair, is to get his replacement.
Okay, so next item under new business is a presentation by John Bear on Delaware yield / bike stop sign question.
Yep. First off, I'd like to congratulate DelDOT and give him a little bit of a shout out, because I received this copy of American Bicyclist from the LAB today. And in it, DelDOT was one of 6 states to get a shout out for being a bike-friendly silver winner in bike-friendly business category. A second human interest thing was, in honor of Groundhog Day, I was out for a walk and at the Ashland facility for the Delaware Nature Society, and lo and behold, I was standing there and a groundhog popped out of his hole about 2:30 this afternoon. Saw his shadow, or maybe me, and he was back in there. So we're gonna have some more winter, I guess. Anyway.
I'm hearing somebody else talking.
Can everybody mute, please, except for John?
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. This is hopefully going to be really pretty short. I'm hoping that we'll be able to replace the bicycle stop signs shown on the right with the bicycle yield signs as shown on the left. These are both pictures taken from the Lewis-Georgetown Trail. Next slide, John. As a little review, the Bicycle Friendly Delaware Act, which was passed in almost unanimously, thank you, one senator, my own senator at the time. It included a few other things, but the safe yielding one, or stop as yield, depending on how you want to talk about it, was the real key one and the real prize in all of this. I'm not going to relitigate any of these things. This was something that had been brewing for years and years. John, next slide. The safe yielding part, often referred to as the Delaware yield, simply allowed bike riders to do what bike riders do and have been doing almost everywhere all the time, is to yield when the coast is clear at a stop sign. Fortunately, I don't have to relitigate this. We were thinking it was going to be a problem a year ago, and I want to thank the DBC for a very strong letter of support to the legislature in support of making this permanent. All of these things have given Delaware the most bike-friendly laws and most pro-bike safety laws of any state in the country, and this is not simply our opinion. Next, John. Right now, these bicycle stop signs are used somewhere on trails. This happens to be the Lewis-Georgetown Trail. It's Kings Highway, I think, but there's a lot of them on the Lewis-Georgetown Trail. They're used, most people, I think, see them on trails. Since I'm a little sensitive to this, I see them on side paths. For example, on US Route 113 in the Millsboro area, there's an enormous number of these on, I'd hate to call them side paths, they're more like sidewalks. There are a few of them on roads. I haven't seen too many lately, but fortunately in 2018, working with RK&K, Joost van den Bach, actually, and with Mark Lutz, was able to remove some of these bicycle stop signs from a road where they were installed on Delaware Route 141 and Delaware Route 52, a major intersection. They've been replaced with the SR1-17, which is the bicycle yield sign. As I say, there's not too many of them that I'm aware of on roads. Next slide, John. The reason for this is the use of the bicycle stop sign is just plain obsolete. It has no legal meaning, or the stop has no legal meaning because there's no violation. As long as you're yielding and as long as you go and the coast is clear, that's the message that it's supposed to be sending. By leaving it in place, it conveys some very, very vague message or wrong message to cyclists, most of whom never did stop and certainly won't stop simply because that's a stop sign as opposed to a yield sign. It also conveys the wrong message to motorists who already think that cyclists are scofflaw cyclists, or excuse me, who already think that, yeah, the cyclists are scofflaw cyclists. We don't need to enhance that vision when there's a really simple way to do that. John, next slide. So this is really simple. And always to have an ask from somebody is to have a council vote for a formal request to DelDOT, to the planning peeps, to stop using SR1-16-DE, which is the stop sign, in favor of the yield sign in all the planning going forward. I know this has been done because, again, Joost van den Bok, RK&K contractor to DelDOT, did this on the DelDOT campus at Bay Road after I talked to him in December of 2018. The second half is to ask traffic, who has responsibility for the physical signs on the road, is to remove the stop signs and replace them as opportunistically as possible. That doesn't mean right away. And opportunistically is a fairly vague word. And I'm hoping that the council can have a vote and request DelDOT to do these simple things. Thanks.
Thanks, John. So I do have one question on John Fiore. I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but do you guys have any initiatives to do these two things that Mr. Bear is asking about already?
We, as far as I know, we do not. The signs are placed per, the Delaware MUT CDE, and so we go by that. So really, until I think something is done there, we could, I can't speak for planning, but maybe that's something to take it under consideration. But we would also have to discuss this with development coordination, because the development coordination manual has the stop signs being installed on shared use paths where it intersects with commercial entrances. However, they do use the yield sign where the SUP ties into the shoulder along a roadway. So if it's the intent to not even place the stop sign at where the SUP shared use path crosses a commercial entrance, that would have to go through our development coordination section to get that manual revised on the next revision, but there's a process for that as well. So, but right now, no, planning is not doing anything to change the type of signs at this point.
John, are you saying that the development coordination manual is so prescriptive for the bike stop sign that there's no discretion for department officials to use the yield sign?
That's up to that's not my call. That's up to either the subdivision engineer, the assistant director, or director.
So you're
So hey,
not,
John Bear.
you're not sure whether it's absolutely written in stone and it's
It's in the manual and it's shown as such. I don't know the exact wording, if it's a shall or if it's a should, but it's in the manual.
It's Pam. Yes, Chair, we can check on that and see exactly, we can provide that excerpt from the Development Coordination Manual on exactly what it says and provide that to the council. But John is right. If there are any changes or revisions that the council does want to make to the Delaware MUTCD, then we would just request that it formally be submitted along with, you know, the request and the explanation of the request, and then we can get that to our traffic section, because like John said, we're just following the Delaware MUTCD on capital projects and trail projects. We can get that to the right individuals to make that decision.
So we're not 100% sure, though, whether we need changes to either the MUTCD or the Development Coordination Manual. John Bear, you're raising your hand.
Yes. I'm no expert on the MUTCD, but I've pretty much read it from end to end, looking for things that I thought were relevant. And one of the things that it very clearly says relevant to this is that DelDOT shall be instructed to use the least, and I don't remember the exact word, but the least offensive, the lowest restriction that they can. So that clearly there's, at least from my layman's reading of this, some room within the MUTCD to make this change.
So John, this is Paul, just quick question. Do you think that we should just totally scrap the sign? Or, I mean, I'm thinking of there's probably a few instances where we're going to actually want bikes to stop. You know, there's intersections where maybe there's bad sight lines, traffic is, you know, the gaps aren't exactly what they look like. And maybe there's a safety reason that we'd want to, you know, have that be a stop control.
Yeah, the law requires cyclists to stop at roads with more than 2 travel lanes.
I mean, there's 2-lane roads with no shoulders that have poor sight lines that I can kind of think of where, you know, obviously if you're biking around a corner, you're coming up to it, it might not look that bad, but having some experience with a particular intersection, it might be worthwhile for us to put a bicycle stop sign there.
Yeah,
so I was just wondering if you want to just totally knock it off the whole table, or if it's just try to use it as little as possible.
Well, the thing is, Paul, it has no meaning of stop. I mean, I don't care whether you leave it up there. If you think that does some sort of benefit, but it has no particular meaning. The only one that I can think of is would be a traffic signal. If you want.
So did the Delaware yield or whatever you like section of the law, did it specifically refer to like the stop sign, or did it refer to also this bicycle stop sign in the law?
It just referred to stop signs. What is it? The red number 1 sign, whatever that is.
Or 1-1.
Yeah, it didn't refer to any signs by their code numbers.
So does that not leave a little hole or an exemption where this sign is still valid?
I personally, I don't think so. And if some cop wants, I mean, I don't mind getting test cased on things, and I think it would be a tough one to make.
I'm just saying. I don't think we should remove it from the MUTCD. I agree. Where there's like onerous stop signs, we should get rid of them. I'm thinking like the Junction Breakwater Trail through. Is it the Senators, where every 10 feet there's one of those little stop signs? That needs to go. That's I think kind of more what you're getting at. But I think there are cases where we want to keep it around in our toolbox.
Paul, do you so with the Senators, do you happen to know, as an example, whether or not those are going up because of really prescriptive language in either the Development Coordination Manual or the
I think that was the developer. Their engineer just thought that was appropriate.
Actually, Paul.
And they just dropped them down there.
Actually, Paul, most of the signs on the Junction Breakwater Trail going through the Senators are little tiny stop signs. They're not bicycle stop signs.
Oh yeah, but still, it's a stop sign that's geared for bikes. That's onerous.
It's just a small version
useless.
of the big one.
And
yeah, in my opinion.
It looks like John Tyler Wright has his hand up, and so does Bill Weller.
Yeah, this is Tyler. Just speaking on safety issues. I mean, in my mind, if the bike council is here to create safety, and yes, it might not always be geared to those of us that ride and are very familiar with the rules of the road, but you're also talking about people who are vacationing here, who aren't very familiar with the area, to have something that is calling their attention to come to a stop to make sure that nobody is coming, I think is a good thing, rather than just having a child. I mean, obviously a child's going to see a big red sign and hopefully stop, rather than just venturing out into the road, not necessarily knowing what a yield sign is or what is coming. I don't see how that's a bad thing for us. That's just a comment on the safety part on what I see on the roads.
You're saying that children know what a stop sign is, but don't know what a yield sign is?
Okay, you can take me literally if you want, but I'm just saying, I think that having a stop sign to create more safety is beneficial. Why would we take away a stop sign? We talk about the issues with the intersection over by Hopkins Dairy, where it's not lighted, and there's so many things that have been working on. But in that area, if you can get someone to come to a stop to make sure that no one else is coming and they're not going to get hit, I don't see that as a bad thing. Whether it can be enforced or not, it's still be a good safety measure in my mind.
I think, and that's kind of what I'm getting at too, is that I think we want to hone in on the frivolous use of it and get rid of times where there's stop signs related to bicycle traffic that aren't really appropriate. So the times when we do use that stop sign, it actually has meaning, right? And maybe that's 10 times in the entire state. But I think we'd rather have 10 of those where they're needed and then get rid of the rest of them and have them be yields rather than just stop using it. So I think we do want some discretion and sort of subtlety in where they're applied.
Paul, if the council wanted to go along with that way of thinking, so not eliminate the bicycle stop sign altogether, but to reduce its use in places where it's not appropriate, is there a role for the council in trying to move the conversation in that direction?
Could it be like guidance language or supplementary language in MUTCD? I don't know. Maybe ask that question to some traffic folks. But yeah, I think so. I think there's at least to put that idea forward, and try and get it more formalized somewhere that we want to get rid of the frivolous use of these stop signs is sure. Yeah, that's a worthy cause.
Do you think?
It looks like we got a couple more. Sorry, Paul. Looks like we got a couple more hands raised. We got Tom, Michael, Tyler, and Bill Weller. So Bill, why don't you go? Your hand was up first.
Thank you. And my question is kind of simple. What's the acronym MUTCD and what is that?
The Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices.
Yes, and Bill, that's the manual that we use pertaining to the installation of signs on roadways. So it tells you if a trail intersects a roadway, these type of signs need to be installed for safety reasons. If you at a signalized intersection, they tell you what type of signs need to be installed. So it's basically a manual to go over most situations on where and how to install, what type and where to install signs on roadways.
Okay, thank you. Is that a Delaware document or a national, like a
Well, there is the
NHTSA
federal
document?
There is a federal one, but Delaware has adopted their own in addition to the federal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure who had their hand up first, Tom Hartley or Mike Tyler. Tom, why don't you go ahead, and then Mike, you can jump on.
I think I was last, so go ahead. Let Tyler and Mike.
Okay.
Am I on now?
You are on, Mr. Tyler.
Okay, the only thing I agree with Corporal Wright about the fact that people aren't frequent cyclers in many cases, and a stop sign does mean something to them. To a cyclist like me, when I come to a stop sign anywhere, not just on a trail, I look both ways, and you don't have to stop. And so if there's nothing coming, I go through. but I don't bolt through. I come to it at least to a cautious pace, and then if I see no cars, I go through. I pedal on. I don't get off my bike. I could do a track stand, but I don't like to do that. So I just keep going. So I think Corporal Wright has a good point that there are people who are not frequent cyclists, and they know a stop sign that says stop, and fathers and mothers will say, see that? That's a stop sign. You have to stop. So I would be in favor of keeping the stop sign. If you want to put a cyclist up there, that's fine too, cyclist stop sign, but I would certainly support that. A yield would, I think it would create some ambiguity, that's all.
Just chiming in here, I think having sort of a population specific interpretation of a regulatory sign is ambiguous. I think having a yield that applies to everyone, and if you want to, you can stop, that's fine. But I think when we put up a stop sign, we want that authority that people can and should need to stop. That's my thought. And I think that's the philosophy behind the MUTCD. Like, you don't want to over apply restrictions with signs where they're inappropriate, because people will begin to sort of just scoff them off, and you lose the authority, the psychological authority of the sign.
Yeah, I really agree with that. That's sort of the wisdom of traffic engineers, and it's also something I think that a lot of cyclists historically have not appreciated. So, whenever we feel like we've got a problem, there's an issue, we feel unsafe, we're like, signs, we want signs here, signs there, and traffic engineers sometimes try to tell us it doesn't really work that way. So I agree with you, Paul. I also, I don't know if everybody can see it, but I put in the chat the language of the MUTCD on stop signs. And the language seems fine in the MUTCD. Pam, I'd love to, if you have any comment on that, I'd love to hear it. It just says you put stop signs where cyclists are supposed to stop. You put yield signs where they're supposed to yield.
Tom Hartley, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I did. And I don't know. I think it might be corrected, but at the east terminus of the Lewis to Georgetown Trail, right along the canal there, the trail ends at Gills Neck Road, and you don't realize at first that there's no shoulder, and all of a sudden, even if you're yielding and you're slowing down, and if you were unfamiliar with it, you might wind up with your bicycle wheel in the travel lane, and a car could come by, even though they're doing 35 miles an hour, and clip your front wheel. There's a good spot, I think, and I'm throwing that one out there just as an example, where I think the stop sign should stay in place, but at the same time, in the Del Dot signs, and I don't know if they're all made to order, but if they had a stock, they should have a stock of 25 yield signs and 2 stop signs, so they get applied. And then it'd be nice if we could take and amend the standards book to say that, use the yield sign, and you only use the stop sign when there's good reason to. And I think people will tend to recognize the difference. I'm just concerned that you go across, and let's say you rode from Georgetown and you rode through 15 yield signs, and they were all kind of lackluster. And then you get to the end and you don't realize this is the end, and that there's a road with quick moving traffic and a very poor sight lines. And you kind of roll out there just a little bit, and all of a sudden you either get hit or your wheel comes very close to, or you scare somebody. And I think there is a good point that very few people in Delaware know what the laws are. We write them. They don't know what they are. For bicycle laws or most anything else, we shouldn't have stop signs up where we really mean that it's okay to yield. we're not going to change the signs on the street just for cyclists. So I understand that. So I'm kind of right there in the middle, but we should change out the signs just like John said, where or when it's convenient, and we can change the signs from stop signs to yield signs where it's in most cases where it's reasonable, which is about 95% of the cases or thereabouts. That was
So
all I had.
this is my question. I thought that the Delaware yield law allowed a cyclist to go through a stop sign. Isn't that what you're allowed to do?
You're supposed to slow down and yield and slowly go through, but yeah, you can't just, if you're going 15 miles an hour, you can't just go 15 miles an hour.
So essentially, aren't all those stop signs on the trail? There's just stop signs. Like, can't you just do the same thing anyway?
Technically, yes.
I think that's just the small ones. What I was saying earlier with John is their law didn't reference the bicycle stop sign. Again, let's have a lawyer and some traffic engineers look at it, but I still think that has some level of authority.
Oh, the bicycle stop
well-
sign is different than a regular. Okay.
It's a different sign. Yeah, it's a different regulatory sign. And yeah, again,
James
we'll see
put
what
it
some
up.
lawyers think.
James, did you put that up, James?
No, that's from the MUTCD, it looks like.
I put up the MUTC language for both the regular stop and yield signs and the bicycle specific one. So as I read that, the MUTCD language seems fine to me. Like, I don't see any need to change any MUTCD language.
Right.
I think it would just be additional guidance, or it'd be just sort of how people apply that MUTCD, the existing language. I don't think anything really needs to change. It's just maybe some training or like a formal statement that would go out that would govern how we'd apply bicycle stop controls. I think that's all you need.
Paul, one of the things to keep in mind is when you say, well, what this is stop bicycles as opposed to the R11, the test I use is, so what is the violation? And when people say, well, you got to stop, it's like, all right, when a cop, and Tyler, right, you can comment on this. When a police officer has to write something up, you've got to come down with title, section, subsection, et cetera. And if Corporal Wright can help us find, because I've looked for some violation and what would be the penalty, and I'm not aware of any.
Pretty sure a lot of regulatory signs don't explicitly have a code that you'd be infracting on. I think it's just like, I'm pretty sure there's a catch-all for regulatory signs that gives some authority to the road manager.
Speed too fast for.
It's just like reckless. It would just be like reckless. I don't know if it's reckless endangerment or something, but I'm pretty sure it falls under some category like that. But again, not a lawyer.
There's a catch-all violation of failure to obey a traffic device. However, there's certain instances where obviously you can only enforce that on a public highway, but there's also language within the code that allows us to apply any traffic violation for a vehicle to a bicyclist. So it's all up to interpretation, to be completely honest. It would have to probably come down to an AG's opinion.
Oh, boy.
Well, so I'll take an opportunity here again.
So
Since
John,
I
unfortunately,
was
we
the
have
one
no
who introduced
consensus here.
this. Since I was the one who introduced this, I would be willing to help the DBC is actually write something that would imply just to reduce the number of the bicycle stop signs, because they truly generate an attitude of the stop sign. The signs are totally ridiculous. And by putting few of them up there, as Paul has pointed out, and Mike Tyler also, might give a little more weight, deserved or not legally, to the bicycle stop sign than if you just sprinkle them liberally everywhere like as they are now.
I think that would be the strongest argument here, that there are some places where we because of the sight, as Paul said, the sight lines are so terrible. for example, that you really do want cyclists to come to a complete stop. And the way you increase the likelihood that cyclists will see and obey and comply with stop signs when you really want them to is to not overuse them in a million other places when they shouldn't be used.
So John, are you?
It's Pam. I think that, yeah, I mean, back to my original point, I do think that, I mean, obviously we're not changing the MUTCD right here. And we will need input from our DAG. So I would recommend if the council does want to proceed with a letter to us, you can send it to me specifically. I would recommend just like laying out all of your concerns and your recommendations along with specific examples of intersections, maybe pictures. Like that always helps to kind of paint the picture. You guys are the resident experts in Delaware, but so I would just lay that letter out with what, like, clear either questions, recommendations, things you want to have considered to change or guidance, and just lay it all out with concise examples, pictures, and that would be my recommendation, but it's up to you guys.
If we want to do that, can I suggest John, Bear, and Scott that you guys work on a draft letter that follows Pam's suggestion, and that in advance of the next meeting of the Delaware Bicycle Council, and then Scott, that draft letter go out with the agenda to the council members for the next meeting, and so everybody sees it before the next meeting, and then we can vote on it at the next meeting.
Does anybody object to that idea?
No, I don't object to it, but the point that Tom brings up about the intersection of the trail and Gills Neck Road, I'm surprised that somebody hasn't gotten clobbered there yet. I mean, that's a dangerous intersection.
That intersection is controlled by an R11 red stop sign. I'm looking at a photograph of it right now.
They ought to have about 3 of them up there. I'm serious, because I've seen people not stop.
We're not adding signs, Walt.
No, I know, but the point is that I'm telling you, that's one real reason to keep the stop sign.
All right, so it sounds like the action item here is John is going to draft something, which I'll take a look at and work on him with. And we will send that out with the next agenda for the April meeting. So if everybody can take a look at that when you get it, and then we'll have a discussion and maybe a vote to proceed with whatever that is. I got some thumbs up there, so we're good. Okay, so we're off to the old business, and the first item is the safety initiatives. So at the last meeting, we had a couple breakout groups. We were talking about ideas on things that the council could do to kind of promote some new safety initiatives. One was to create a video, and the second one was related to a bicycle training program. I think, Mike, do you want to talk about
He
that?
stepped away.
You
He
want to do
stepped
a
away from the
debrief?
camera.
What's that?
He stepped away from his desk right now.
Oh, that's unfortunate. I'm pretty sure he wanted to do a debrief of what was discussed.
Yeah, he did. I just saw him step away real quick. Hopefully it won't be too long.
All right, so let's come back to that. We'll just do a quick update on Bike Route 1 then. So we did have a meeting on Bike Route 1. attended by some council people, some folks from DelDOT, including John and Anthony. And Chris was kind enough to help get that organized and kind of lead that discussion. And where we landed at the end of the meeting, and Chris, you can hop in here if I screw this up, but basically, I think we had a couple action items. One was we were going to take what we have for Kenton, Sussex County, our existing routes and the work that's been done and where we'd like to put those routes. And we'd like to ask Paul, if he has time, to kind of overlay those on the level of traffic stress maps and give us some feedback on if we are making some improvements in terms of the new route. The other action item was we were considering if there should be actually two route ones, one being kind of the traditional route that goes through multiple towns and kind of connects places together, and a second one being a more westward route, which would be something for a different type of cyclist community to use. I don't think we landed on that, but it seemed like there was some consensus that seemed like a good idea. There have been a couple things done for Newcastle County, but it doesn't seem like we've made any serious progress in deciding if there should be some realignments of Newcastle County. Chris, did that pretty much cover where we're at?
Yes.
You want to note, Chris, do you want to note anything, the adventure cycling route? Is that at all, you think has any relevance or not?
I haven't been able to look at that closely.
So Paul, I don't know if you heard that. We're going to ask you to help with some of the Route 1, just to do a little bit of analysis for us.
I leave for 3 minutes.
What's that?
I leave for 3 minutes and I get volunteered for things.
Yeah, you don't have to blame that one on your
What do you
boss.
need? I'm sorry about that. What was that? What do you need?
So we've been talking about redoing bicycle Route 1 for a while, and we have for Kenton, Sussex County some suggested changes to the route, and we were kind of hoping that you could take a look at those and overlay those with your level of traffic stress mapping to kind of verify that we're making some improvements, or just as a check to, a sanity check, basically.
Yeah, sure. If it's not too cumbersome or involved, for sure.
Okay.
Or I can teach you how to do it. I can also do that. We'll be in touch. Send me an email about it. We'll talk about it.
Hey, Paul, this is Mike. If you really don't have time to do it, I could probably work on it too.
All right, cool. Yeah,
There we go.
Scott, copy Mike on that one.
Yeah, we got a volunteer. I like that.
Yeah, I just need to see, I've got access to the traffic stress stuff. I would just need what you're proposing as the new route.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, we just updated on First Map. There's a huge update to it about a month ago. So
okay.
If you use what's on First Map, that should be very nice.
Okay.
All right.
And Scott,
have a
real quick,
question.
Mike Wagner's back.
Did someone have a question for me earlier? I'm sorry, I stepped out.
Mike, we were wondering if you wanted to do kind of a debrief on the breakout room that you led last time, and if we want to have a discussion about next steps on that.
I thought the breakout room worked pretty well. Everyone seemed positive. We took a simple idea and said, what could we do with it if we had a bike trailer to teach kids how to bike, to ride bikes, to assist with that. And Paul, was it you who spoke up and said that DelDOT had a bike trailer? Was that correct?
Yep, John can tell you all about it.
Oh no, we visited it. We saw it. So I took Sabra Collins, who is my colleague at DOE who kind of is the point of contact for anything health and PE related. And so Saber and I met with John last Thursday and looked at it. So I wrote some notes down about Saber and I, but I'd like a chance to kind of debrief with Saber before I present those notes out of professional courtesy. I guess the question was, though, I mean, I think there are some things we can do. And like I said, they're not going to happen. Like someone could do a YouTube video on the bike trailer and we could send it to all the teachers, and you may get some teachers say, hey, can you come out to my school? And that would be a start. But, you know, when you talk about the 21-22 school year, you know, that's pretty much a wash at this point for kind of introducing anything new. So I think there are some definitely first steps we can take with the next school year and getting this out to the school and doing a train the trainer, which Paul talked about. I think that I think it could be a long range product. And there were definitely some suggestions that Saber had about what the bike trailer would need, or, you know, because of different levels of kids, both size and age, and also bike experience. And then someone had mentioned the possibility of, well, would we need two? And I think we need to get some use from the first one, but I definitely think that could be possible. But those that were in the breakout room, did you feel it was worthwhile in talking about that idea? Because this is something we can promote, not only throughout schools, but throughout other organizations like the YMCAs and Boys and Girls Clubs. Did you guys find it useful and productive and something we want to continue, or just, well, we tried it and let's just kind of move on with other bike council business? So I'll open the floor to everyone who's in that room.
So I'll go first. It seemed to me like there was a lot of energy that was produced by that discussion. So I think it has some potential to move forward. Any other volunteers?
Can I say something?
Sure.
So I wasn't in that breakout group, but I think in our group, we were kind of at least I was thinking along the same lines of educational videos that they could be implemented for either or children and adults. And we just couldn't figure out what kind of situation that would come up. So I really love the idea. And I work with Sabra as well from, on the DPH side. So I would love to work with DOE on doing something like that, supporting that, not only through the council, but from DPH. It sounds like a great idea.
Can I offer something as well? This is Tyler.
Yes, go ahead, Tyler. Of course.
So in the summers as well, our collision reconstruction unit, specifically down south here, meets with visa students that are here and do a presentation of safety and such. And with majority of them using bicycles, that would obviously be something that would be beneficial to them as well, and something that we could probably get use out of as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a good connection. So Mike, what do you have any thoughts on what we need to do here next steps? It sounds like you want to do some debrief of some notes, and then maybe.
I think we should debrief on some notes, and I'd like to hear if Jackie has anything, because she made a couple of comments as well in there, and I don't want anyone to kind of go out on a limb. If you don't like it, please speak up. But it kind of takes me back to the internship movie when they talked about, what does Google do? And it's putting people in touch with information. We have this great resource, and it looks like we have a couple of other potential partners who would like to support that resource. So the key is, how do we develop a plan to promote and market that resource so that DPH gets some use out of it, the schools get some use out of it. Corporal Tyler and the summer workers that come here from other countries, our Boys and Girls Clubs, our YMCAs, stuff like that.
So I mean, that's what we should be doing. Like I said, when I heard that this was used maybe 6 to a dozen times a year, I think that's great. But if it can be an effective resource, this is something that we want to do. The goal for us would be, how can we promote it to get it used 6 months out of the year, 8 months out of the year? And so, yes, I guess we could debrief the next meeting and then potentially form a plan. And again, this doesn't happen overnight. This does not happen overnight. It's a slow grind of work. It's not hard work to do, but if we chipped away at it, I think we could have some things in place that would help.
Okay,
And
so
hey, Scott, this is John Fiore. I just kind of add to that. Last year, the secretary requested that our section try to advance our statewide bicycle safety and education program, to have more of these type of mobile workshops, either bicycle safety checkpoints or bicycle rodeos. So from my point of view, our issue was getting the word out there, so to speak. So this could be a way to get the word out,
Okay.
about this. So
okay. Well, great. So we can definitely put that on the agenda for next meeting. And Mike can start off that discussion, and then we'll have to see if we can land on some firm action items, and hopefully some people will step up to help out. So.
I just had a couple comments. When Mike was talking about how to get started, I know OHS worked with Date to get their simulator trailer started as well, and it's been to the fair and Dover Downs or Firefly. So maybe tapping into those folks who were intimately involved in how they started with that. I know it's a joint effort as well. So maybe they have some lessons learned, and we might want to start there.
Who was that you were talking about, Jackie?
Date Division of Alcohol and Tobacco Enforcement.
Okay.
I think it's Chief Yeomans. Again, I'm still learning all these people, so I know OHS assisted in some of the funding. It was definitely not totally funded. And I know NHTSA is more, NHTSA likes seeing projects that are through several stakeholders. So if we can share the love and say, okay, well, you're going to get 5,000 from this, 5,000 from that one, and 5,000 for this one, and this is our plan on who's going to use it. It's a lot easier to sell when you do it that way. But I've heard about the bike rodeos and stuff, so that I would definitely be interested in seeing that in action, and with the audience that you're visiting down there, because we'd also like to share ped stuff, not to get away from bike stuff, but we want to try to reach those visitors as well for the ped stuff. So I think it's a great idea, Mike. I think we should definitely go forward, and like you were saying, not only schools but summer camps and Ys and all that stuff. So thank you.
And to piggyback off Jackie's comment,
Do you mind if I ask you a question before we just since you spoke up? Real quick question. When you talk to your counterparts at NHTSA, maybe I should rephrase it. Have you or any of your colleagues ever communicated with anybody at NHTSA and asked the question, from the point of view of, what's been studied and what data exists, and what evidence we can point to? Is there anything that NHTSA says this is a good direction to spend federal NHTSA money on in terms of bicycle safety? There's actually data that shows that it will have an impact.
No, that has not been explored yet.
Could you ask that question on behalf of the Delaware Bicycle Council?
Sure.
Thank you, Jackie.
Everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Just to piggyback what Jackie said earlier, when she talked about the date driving similar, not only did it go to all those organizations, but it went to 2 driver education professional development days. And that date simulator has been in many schools this year. I don't have the exact number, but because it was presented to the stakeholders in our driver education teachers, it went into many schools. And I think that would be the same thing with a bike rodeo and a bike trailer, that you presented at the physical education and health teachers. You have a kind of like a trainer, you have a table at their PE day, and that's usually in the fall. It's usually in October, the first Wednesday in October or the second. And that's kind of where you get that whole thing started.
Okay, any other comments to add on to the discussion about this? So Mike, maybe we should touch base before the next meeting too, kind of plan out where we want to go on this.
Yes. Hey, can I ask one question about Bike Route 1?
Sure.
This is coming from a novice person on bike routes, and I do enjoy bicycling. But the Bike Route 1 project kind of confuses me, just because I came to Delaware about 30 years ago when they started the US Route 1 that gets you, from Wilmington to the beach. Because obviously you're not going to bike on Route 1, the highway, but is the naming of this thing, does that create any confusion for people? Or do just bicyclists know, hey, Bike Route 1 is this?
I don't know. Does anybody know the answer to that?
Well, Tom Hartley should. He started it.
I've never heard any confusion. This is Marty. I've never heard any confusion. I always thought Bike 1 was a clever way to say the first bike route for the first state. Nothing to do with the state route 1.
This is Mike Tyler. They have appropriate signs too that said bicycle route 1. So there was no confusion, because there was a bicycle on the sign and it said bicycle route 1. So
I've never heard of anybody getting on the highway out of the state. That was the bike
I'm
route.
not saying that anyone would get on the highway. I've just never been on. I've been on many of the bike trails in Delaware, but I've never been on Bike Route 1.
Well, it's on a lot of roads. I mean, part of it comes out in Rehoboth and rides down Route 1 to Fenwick.
I don't think we've spent as much money on Bike Route 1 as we have on Route 1.
You probably have been on it, Mike. You just don't realize it.
Okay.
Okay. Last item under old business is priority bikeway projects update.
Yeah, I don't have any updates from the last meeting. I will say I did get an inquiry about the Senator Bikeway Phase 3 from Mifflin Road to the high school. It wasn't in the updates that are posted, but just to give a very quick update, we did get our notice to proceed, but I have no timeline or schedule at this time. So Phase 3 is going to be in the works, but I have no idea of a schedule at this point. So when we have more details for Senator Bikeway Phase 3, they will be put on the list.
Didn't somebody have a question at the beginning about one of these?
Well, then also it was Cool Spring. Walt had a question when Cool Spring was going to start construction. Let me make sure.
Yeah.
From Fisher Road.
At the,
Yeah. Yep. And I'm trying to figure out, it says will not begin construction until the spring. That is still the case. I just don't know when in the spring, Walt. I'll touch base with Anthony to see if he has a better idea, but we're still anticipating construction to begin in the spring. I'll get you more information, see if I can tie that down clear for you.
John, at the last meeting, that segment, the contract had not been awarded for that segment, so that you should.
The contract went out in December.
Yeah, it was awarded.
It said for the Cool Spring to Fisher, the bid openings was to occur around the 14th or 15th. And at that time in December, we anticipate construction not beginning until the spring. So
Is anybody in, my understanding is that, I know you guys are doing the at-grade crossing at Fisher, but that I think Panoni has been hired to look at a grade separated crossing of Route 9. Are you aware of that? By the Sussex County Land Trust or somebody like that?
I've heard, but
it's my understanding that they are planning a bridge.
Yeah, so I guess my question here is, has anybody talked to them?
I have from the sideline. I won't go into why, but I'm in connection with the Freeman Corporation on a land transaction, being the land guy that I am.
So
They tell me that they're going forward on planning a bridge. Now, how they're going to get it approved or build it or whatever, I don't know.
So let me rephrase my question. Has anybody from planning talked to whoever's involved at Panoni, apparently, in doing some preliminary something or other regarding a grade separated crossing of Route 9?
James, this is Mike Tyler. I think a lot of it is hearsay, and just what Walt said, we've heard things, but I don't know of any specific activities that are going to be taking place.
So you don't think like anybody at Panoni has been hired to do this? That's a rumor, but it's not.
This is the first I've heard of Panoni, but I'm in contact with Freeman Corporation and the Land Trust, and they're planning on putting a bridge across that thing.
I think that's what I've heard too.
When do you think they let Delmont know?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get
up
at.
to them. I don't know.
Good point, Tom.
Yeah, just to let you know, I have heard just in the last few weeks, just very, preliminary rumblings of a bridge across Route 9, but it is right now it is just preliminary talks. There is no task for DelDOT. There's no, there hasn't been any firm coordination or in anything. So I really can't speak to that right now. So I wish I knew more. You guys probably know more than I do. So.
And for Pam or Paul or somebody, John, that might know, I imagine any kind of grade separated crossing, and I've been across several that are in Florida, they look like to me, because of the height and what have you, it's like a $10 million undertaking, right?
You're right.
It's in the millions. Yes.
You're right. It's 10 to $15 million.
Yeah, and you better believe that they're not going to be paying for the whole design cost. They're probably going to give it to us when they have a, concept plan. And yeah.
But yeah, I can tell you
I've heard nothing
like
of
the
it.
golf cart bridge over 24 at Baywood.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was a cheap one,
Yeah, it's only 2 or 3 million
right?
at that time.
Well, right now, I'll bring you up real quick on the Freeman Corporation. You know, they're planning on building about somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500 houses in the next 10 years between Cool Spring and Milton. Well, that whole project right now is undergoing a study of a Sussex County Council. They have to create a new zoning ordinance to get that major development approved. And that's probably 2 years down the road before they get the zoning done, let alone building something across Route 9. But as far as to money, they got plenty of money. Don't worry about that. It's not lacking for funding.
So John, there's no other updates? We got any other bridges to build?
Not that I know of. So,
Okay.
but no other updates. Everything that's currently on the website is current. But I'll, like I said, I'll double check on the Cool Spring, the Fisher Road, when get a better idea when they want to start construction.
John, did you ever share the Delaware Avenue Bikeway website with the council?
I didn't know there was one.
All right, let me see if I can find it. I'll put it in the chat.
All right. I mean, I would think, and I don't know if the engineer put it on there, but I would think there would be on DelDOT's project portal. It could be on that, if that's
No,
what
it's
you're
like
referring to.
It's got its own URL. Here
Okay.
a whole website on the
And Scott, while James is doing that, just let you know, I got James's notes for breakout room 1.
Okay.
So I've already incorporated them into the meeting minutes. So if you want, we can go back. I can share my screen for everyone to look at those minutes. I also emailed it out to the council members if they have access to their email. So if you want, we could vote on the December meeting minutes tonight.
Yeah, let's wrap that up.
Okay.
We can be done. Delaware Avenue separated bikeway.
That's pretty cool. It's got its own like its own little website just for this one project.
Okay, so let's see. We got a list of the group members. They discussed safety videos, which you were talked about a little bit earlier. They talked about a driver safety video of 30 minutes. Use of that driver's education classes, a short one of 1 minute. James had an example. And then a third one would be a driver education module. So I don't know, James, do you think there's enough? You think we integrate this in with the other thing? I guess that's not what we're doing right now. So we need a motion on the minutes.
I move that the council approve the minutes that are as amended on the screen there.
This is Mike, and I'll second that.
Okay, I'll second it, Mike Tyler.
All in favor of approving these minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Okay, that concludes our agenda for tonight. We have one last thing remaining. Somebody please make a motion to conclude the meeting.
I'll move.
I have one thing I wanted to mention that I didn't because I wasn't at the last meeting.
Okay.
A couple things, actually. One, the rumble strips in front of the Mount Air chicken plant they're bumping up and it's real difficult to ride on the shoulder. And the shoulder's rather narrow. So I think we need to take a look at that because they become rumble strips. They were filled in, the rumble strips were filled in, but now they've raised. And I think we need to look at that because I know when I went across, I was out in the road. I didn't want to ride on this rumble strip, on the swollen concrete or macadam that had filled the rumble strips.
Hey, Mike, this is James. Have you already reported this to DelDOT and got no?
No, I haven't. I haven't been riding that much, but I didn't mention it to DelDOT, but I can.
I think if you email or call DelDOT and nothing happens, then elevating it to the council at that point would be good. But this is too early.
All right, that's fair. Okay, I'll do that. And I got a real upset person calling me. I guess it was in September, October, I forget when. And he was really upset about the bike trail, about Gordon's Pond Trail and the fact that the people, how they were acting. He said it was really unsafe. He had brought a friend along and he said we had nearly had a couple crashes. And I know we can't do anything about it, but that, of course, that raised bed is way too narrow for a lot of people. And he said it was just crazy. There was strollers and dog walkers. And he said, he was so sorry that he even took the trail.
You're talking about the real narrow elevated part?
Yes, yes.
So I know that Ray Bivens, the director of state parks, is looking, I think maybe in a very preliminary way, but he's apparently looking at, could that be made wide? Or, I mean, he acknowledges that when they built it, they totally were way off on their estimates of how many people would use it, and it's too narrow as a result, and they're aware of that. And I mean, Mike, would you mind reaching out to Ray and seeing if you can bring something back to the next council meeting?
Hey, yeah, this is Mike Crumrine. If you're talking about the elevated boardwalk or bridge section there, we are currently in the process of finishing up a study, I believe, at looking at trying to cantilever a section off of that to make that bridge wider. So that is in process now.
Good idea.
Don't forget, guys, when John sends out the minutes, he asks for any other agenda items. So we can get those in at that time. That's the time to bring this stuff up. So.
Gotcha.
Mike, I don't want to put you on the spot and ask for a, commitment in stone, but I think if you were to ask for 5 minutes, as little as 5 minutes on the next agenda, just to give the council a little bit of, I don't know, bring a picture, an image or a picture or just something. I think people would be interested in anything you had to say.
Sure, I can do that.
Well, the Gordon's Pond Trail is actually a traffic jam. And those people they're not cordial or happy, and they'll flat run over you.
Absolutely right.
So this is a problem, although I'll just say, as weird as it might be for some people to hear this, it goes into the category of like problems we want to have. Like, it's a problem that's there because this thing that we built is just so incredibly popular that we need to make it wider.
It's a victim of its own success.
Pretty much.
And it does absolutely need to be wider. Yep, I totally concur.
All right, I agree. We can continue to talk about it.
The Markel Trail boardwalk is 14 feet wide.
Mike or James, do you know how wide the Gordon's Pond Trail is?
8 feet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's 8 feet.
At most.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. If you confront another cyclist going the other way, you almost can hit their handlebars.
Yeah, you definitely have to slow down.
You're not gonna go to 14 feet, are you, Mike?
When the trail was built, it was probably budgetary constraints that, it was probably money.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure why they settled on 8 feet, whether it was a budget issue or not. I I was part of that back in the day, and I don't remember how we came up with 8 feet.
Everybody knows that hardly anybody will ride it.
Yeah, maybe.
A lot of the guys that I used to ride with, they ride at night. They put their lights on. I've ridden with them at night, and no one else is there except a couple of deer.
I have one comment, though, that before this meeting concludes, the bike trails out there in the Cold Spring area were plowed. Thank you, Deldon. I don't know who plowed them, but they were plowed. They were clear.
Walt, I want to second that. Thank you, Delda, for plowing the Lewis to Georgetown Trail. Thank you.
I would have to assume that would be our South District office, so.
Okay, we're ending this meeting on a positive note.
Well, we had Marty,
Marty's got
made
his hand raised.
was first, so if anybody has a second.
Can I just say before we adjourn that folks who are not on the panel can't see the chat. So the items that were shared or the URLs and websites that were shared, the public can't see. So someone posted that in the question and answer. So I just wanted to point that out to the council.
Oh.
Okay, I will copy those and make sure they're in the meeting minutes. And then they'll be part of the meeting minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good idea.
So
That was
let me-
Bill Weller from the public.
All right, let me go through this and copy them now, so I don't lose the ability to.
Did we ever get a second on the meeting adjournment?
You just got one. Well,
Okay.
Roger Roy, and whatever you call that, in abstentum or something. He's down there in Florida living the good life.
We
Yeah,
don't have anybody to end the meeting.
Yeah, the least he could do is send us pictures.
That's right.
Hey, Scott, good job.
All right, guys, we'll talk in April. John, do you need to keep this going to do your thing here or?
Nope, I got them.
Okay.
I just finished.
All right, take care, everybody.
All right.
John, thanks for the help earlier.
All right, yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Take care.
Pam, thanks for your presence.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.